When choosing your zero, you'll be forced to consider a lot of variables. Things such as your environment, firearm configuration, and the purpose of your chosen platform will all play a role in this decision. And when this discussion comes up, the question arises is, what is the best zero? I want to be upfront and tell you that this isn't going to be a video analyzing POIs of different zeros, but rather a video about why I chose the specific zero that I decided to run with. So in this video, I'll be discussing my zeros for my rifle setups as well as my pistol setups. But before we get too far in this video, I want to let you guys know that if you're looking to get into firearms training, I do have an ebook called the Fundamental Range Day Guide, and within that document, you'll find a ton of drills you can run at an indoor or outdoor range. This isn't something I would consider a necessity for a lot of people, but I did do my best to take some of the hard work off your shoulders. I consolidated a lot of drills into one comprehensive packet, and you can take this to the range to work on different fundamentals that will help you progress your shooting abilities. So if you want to check that out, the link will be down below in the description. All right, let's start off with my rifle zeros. For anyone that's ever shot with me, you know that I'm a huge fan of the 100-yard zero. But I didn't initially start with this zero. I've experimented with many zeros, such as the 15-yard zero and the 36-yard zero. And although each of them have their pros and cons, I found that the 100-yard zero kept things very simple for me specifically. And this is because I don't have to memorize holdovers as well as holdunders at various distances. Most people are familiar with holdovers because it's a necessity at range. Just like anything else, your bullet is affected by gravity. And as it loses velocity, the effects of gravity become more noticeable. But what a lot of people don't discuss are holdunders. With shorter zeros, you'll find that a little bit past your 0 point, your shots will start to hit high. For example, if I have a 25-yard zero, at 50 yards, I might have to aim a little bit lower than where I want to hit. And this is because the bullet still has enough velocity to keep traveling upward. I don't know if I really explained that clearly, and I don't really feel like getting into the mathematics of the whole discussion, but I just want to give you guys a general explanation. I might have thrown in a few errors here and there, but hopefully you guys got the overall gist. So when we go back to the 100-yard zero, you'll start to see the fall off right after the 100-yard line. So when I'm aiming at 200 yards, my impacts will be slightly lower, as well as at 300 yards. But when I start reaching out to over 4 or 5, even 600 yards, it seems very intuitive to my thought process to raise my point of aim so that I can compensate for bullet drop. And the really cool thing about this is that even at shorter distances, I don't have to adjust for holdunders. Leading up to the 100-yard zero, I'm still going to have to aim a little high to get good impacts. And that's because, like I said earlier, my bullet is starting lower and traveling upward to match my zero. So whether I'm engaging something near or far, the only thing I have to worry about is raising my point of aim to get good hits. All right, so in this next example, I'm speaking in complete hypotheticals, and we're just gonna remove governing laws from the equation because I'm strictly talking about engaging a threat. But let's say you're in an encounter that presents itself with a lot of distance between you and said threat. I like to believe that we're all gonna be under a bit of stress in that scenario. Now, if you're fatigued or tired, or just like I said, stressed out, I think we can all agree that thinking clearly can be a bit difficult. And having to figure out if you need to hold over or under at an unknown distance doesn't seem like a good time to me. But being able to just put my reticle where I want to fire, and if I do see my splash a little lower than where I was intending, then I can make a quick adjustment by raising the reticle to try to get that good hit faster. From 0 to 300 yards, I really don't have to change my point of aim too much. 300 yards is kind of pushing it because you will be hitting the bottom of a C-zone target. But again, this is just generalities. So if I start to see splashes on the ground, I'm shooting way further than 300 yards. And this was very important to me because after a lot of thought, I realized that if I'm employing my rifle, there's a high possibility I'm going to engage a threat at distance. Now, obviously, we know that CQB is a thing, and a rifle can 100% be used up close. But what makes a rifle unique is that it's able to stretch out to medium and even longer ranges. So I kind of went into choosing my zero with some form of combat in mind. Now, I've explained that I've never served in the military nor worked in law enforcement, but I like to stay open-minded about things like this. And I believe that everybody should share a defensive mindset because at the end of the day, we're all here together. And I encourage everyone to share your knowledge when you can because it doesn't hurt to make your neighbors better. Lastly, one of the main reasons why I switched over to a 100-yard zero because I recently found a huge fascination with scoped carbines. Again, how you build your rifle is completely up to you, and a closer zero might make more sense to you for your specific setup. But as you can see, I typically run longer barrel rifles. But this is because I really enjoy the capability the ballistics give me with this platform. And I wanna say about 40% of the time, I really like stretching out to those medium ranges just to get some good practice in. And with me diving so deep into the scoped carbine world, I found that a lot of scopes, whether they be a 1-8 or a 1-10, have mill-based reticles. And the 100-yard zero really integrates well with these types of scopes. So let's say you want a 100-yard zero, but you don't have access to 100 yards in your local area. Well, there's a solution for that. One being targets that are specifically designed to get you a preferred zero at shorter distances. So what you can do is go online and type in 25-yard target for a 100-yard zero. And there will be many websites that you can browse through that will have printable targets that will show you how to get a 100-yard zero and a 25-yard shooting bay. And pretty much what they do is give you a point of aim where your reticle needs to be aimed at, and it'll also show you where your bullet needs to hit in accordance to where you're aiming. So you will aim at the same spot every single time you fire, but adjust your elevation until the hits are impacting the impact zone. And this will give you a rough 100-yard zero. I say rough because yes, you could take this out and hit at 100 yards, but I always recommend you go out and true your zero. You may have to drive a good distance to find a 100-yard range if there isn't one in your local area. And I know this may sound inconvenient for a lot of people, but if this is something you really want to explore, then sacrifices are going to have to be made. So if you really want to train at distance, you might want to reserve some time on the weekend strictly for travel and shooting. All right, so we talked about rifle, but what about pistol? After shooting various zeros with my pistols, I found that the 25-yard zero is the best spot for me. And this is because when I had closer zeros, I was getting some crazy impacts at distance. No, I'm not saying that these wild impacts weren't induced by me to a certain extent, because they were. But not understanding my point of impact at distance with a closer zero was something I never really thought of in the pistol world. So when I started getting misses at head boxes at 30 yards, I just thought I was a horrible shot. But after experimenting with shooting at distance with a closer zero, in my case a 12-yard zero, I soon figured that I wasn't holding under enough. So I confided in a few of my friends that I shoot with at matches, and the general consensus seemed to be that I needed a 25-yard zero. And this made shooting at distance a lot easier. And up close, I don't really have to worry about super low POIs. The drop in impact is so minute that adjusting for it really isn't that productive. But at distance, I want to be as precise as I can be. But I'm not going to go too deep into why I chose a further zero for pistol, because it's almost exactly why I chose a further zero for rifle. I'd pretty much be running through the exact same points. So what zeros are you guys running, and why are you running that zero? I want to hear from you guys down below, but make sure you also say what setup you're running, because that's a huge factor when determining what zero you're going to go with. Just talking zeros doesn't give enough context to what you're trying to do. So I think leaving a setup description really clears up a lot of questions. At the end of the day, there's no right answer to this, but this is what works for me personally, and I thought I'd share it. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.